Oh, we're live. Okay, let's see.
Hi. You can say hi to everyone.
It says
Nobody's there yet.
Is live now. I'm there.
Hi. 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 Hi.
Oh, hey, guess what? Mr. Brody's watching. Say hi. Cody, turn yours off. What's up? Hi, guys. We're just gonna wait a minute before we start, so that we can have everyone sign on with our crazy kids.
Hey.
Mr. Brody says, "Hey, dudes." Say hi, Blakey.
Hi, Blakey.
Oh. Oh, Grandma's on.
Hey, you.
Stop looking.
Morgan Nelson. I haven't seen her in a long time. Matt Barty.
What's up?
Say hi, Mr. Matt.
It's too much for
Hi,
her to be
Mr. Matt.
staring at herself in this reflection.
John Kim. Hey, man.
You should
You gotta-
put that down a little bit more.
You're going to have to come visit us sometime.
Grandma says, "Hi, kiddos." You can talk, Bree. Stop being
Hi.
weird. Okay, back up. It's
It's
too much.
Hi.
I'm Cody.
Hi, I'm Daddy Bacon.
Your daddy
Bacon.
bacon.
I like bacon, huh?
Oh, this is awesome.
Ah.
Okay, can you pull that screen down just a little bit, Cody?
Yeah.
All right.
Excuse me. Moving, adjusting the screen. Technical.
All right, since we're going to be talking about our story of our house today, Bro, what is your most... Ezra, back off from the camera.
Come on, sit down.
What's something that you're most looking forward to for the house?
My own bedroom.
Why?
Because he doesn't make weird noises all night.
He doesn't, so you don't need your own bedroom. So you're fine. Ezzy, what are you most looking forward to for the house? What are you looking at?
So
I figured he'd dance in
I
front of that instead of
don't
the
hear
screen.
making weird noises at night.
Sometimes there's a little bit of fighting at night between these kids. Okay, well, yeah, let's get started. We just wanted to share the story of what's happened so far, and as we are reflecting on everything since 2017, we're just blown away. It's been incredible. And I don't know if we've shared that enough, how awesome it's been. At the same time, we are going to be, hey, if you can't calm down, you're going to go in the other room, okay? Unrolling a new website that it makes it easier to give, but we don't want to quite do it yet because we want to share the story first, and we don't want people to get distracted, even though it's an exciting website. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I think
You
for
actually
us...
have to get in the camera.
I totally am.
Barely.
You gotta make room for the cute ones. No one wants to look at me on the camera, but no, it's been an incredible process, and just
go
the
ahead.
promise of walking and trusting God and seeing His faithfulness come through over and over and over again. It's been an incredible journey for
Yeah.
us, going on almost 3 years now. It's a ride and a dream that we couldn't have imagined 3 years ago.
Yeah. And actually, to be honest, it started like quite a bit longer. That's a horrible grammar, but it started a long time ago when we were still in Ensenada. We felt like God was saying that He wanted us to buy land and to buy a house, and so we started looking, and just nothing really stuck. That we didn't really feel peace about anything, but we had this dream that was probably over 10 years ago that we've just sort of held on to, and then until we got hit with this opportunity. I wanted to show this also. This is my notebook that has our entire story written down on it. I just update it every time something's happened, good, bad, all of those things. And I was updating it the other day, and I was just totally blown away by the things that God's done. And so that's kind of inspired how we want to unpack this, because I want everyone to know how awesome God is. The truth is that we're quite ordinary, and you know, pretty limited, and have kind of screwed up a lot through this and done things right and maybe not always done things right, but God has been really, really faithful through this. And so that's what, out of everything, we hope that you would hear the glory of the Lord in this story.
Yeah, like Lindsay said, this process started. Sean just mentioned, hey, there's a chance we might buy this land down the hill. If that property was available, do you think you and some other YWAMers would be interested in it? And I was like, yeah, of course, that would be phenomenal. Not knowing what I was getting myself into.
Getting us into.
Yeah, getting my family into, and
Yeah.
So just walking through that whole process of, okay, there's this land, who can get it? Okay, 6 different YWAM families all need to come up with this huge lump sum of money.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and that was pretty scary. I remember right from the beginning, I was, I love it. Hi, Brielle. I sent her to the other room because she couldn't sit still. Hey. But I remember thinking, like, okay, God, how am I going to make this happen? And not right from the beginning, God was like, this is not how you're going to do this. This is how I am going to do this. And I'm like, okay. But so often I just want to take any type of control because it makes it feel like maybe I could do something. And constantly God's just like, nope, this is my story. And anytime that I try and do it, it's like, ugh. But when God's doing stuff, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, we said yes to that we would be interested in buying this land. We said we're going to do it because we felt like God said yes. That was in like November 2017. And then right after that, I was leading at DTS, and we took an outreach to go to Texas for 2 months to do relief with Hurricane Harvey. Took our kids. And you want to say anything about that?
Nope. You're doing so good.
Oh, great. Well, we did. We took our kids. Ezra was 2 and Brielle was 4. Cody bought Ezra his own hammer. Actually turned 2 while we were there, so he started as a 1-year-old with a real hammer, and Cody got beamed in the head with it, so good times. But while we were there, we're trying to lead this team, but we're wrestling with this thing of how we've said we're going to buy this land, and we don't have any money. That was the funny thing. We felt like God said, yes, do this, but then like we're like, with what? Like we have nothing, literally nothing to go towards this. And so by the time we were in Texas, we had some money, but we needed, it was what, $50,000 by the end that we needed. And we were still negotiating prices at that time. And we partnered with a church in Baytown, Texas called Celebration of Life Church. Shout out to our buddies there. And they invited us to a worship night with them. And while we were there, they invited our whole team up to pray for us while we were there trying to partner with them and bless them. And it was really exciting because they got to us and started praying, just, you know, your classic bless them prayers, and they stop and say, oh my gosh, God is giving you a beautiful house. And we're like, what? And they're like, yeah, God's going to give you a house, and there's going to be donations coming in that you don't even know where they're coming from. And I kid you not, earlier that day, we had been really nervous about trying to get a certain amount of money by a certain time. There's always these deadlines that we have to have the money, this amount of money for. And that day we'd gotten an anonymous donation for $10,000. And then we show up and God's like, hey, look, I am doing this. And we were like, okay, God, like we believed you before, but you were just nailing it home at this point. And that was one of the like really cool, like, okay, like God is speaking and he is moving in this.
Yeah, I think the other incredible thing was about that loan was, or about that gift was, we were talking to another friend who was going to loan us the money. And
the $10,000 that we needed.
The $10,000. And so we were taking that $10,000 loan and not really comfortable with it. Like we were excited and thought, you know,
this seems to be the way that we're doing
it seems to be the way. We'll buy the land, and then, you know, who knows, in 40 years maybe we'll build a house. And just in that whole process of seeing God provide that gift anonymously, we have no idea where that money came from. And that kind of put something in our hearts and our desire to do the house debt free.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, we have been walking in faith, and we've seen a tremendous amount of money come in, small chunks, large chunks, and God provided every step of the way.
Yeah, and by June, we had been able to pay off the land, and we own the land debt-free, which was amazing because it wasn't just us, it was these other 5 families and our family
From all over the world.
from all over the world who had paid for this land debt-free, and we all owned it. So we were just, it's been so cool to not only walk in this story of for ourselves and seeing God's faithfulness in our lives, but we've been able to celebrate his faithfulness in our friends' lives that are also going through the same thing. And but in June, I realized we were celebrating that we got this land, and but I realized that I'd really there's Ezra kind of screwed up a little bit with my attitude, because I was so nervous about how God was going to make this happen. That I didn't enjoy this process of him giving this gift, and so it was like I was too worked up to enjoy the fact that God was taking us in this journey. And so I totally repented from that and said, "Hey God, like I'm just gonna trust you in your timing, that your timing is absolutely the best timing, and I don't want to have myself so focused on what you're doing for us that I miss who you are in this situation." And so that has been a new mantra since when was that, summer 2018, when then we were able to keep moving forward. So since then we had to go through a lot of paperwork and lawyers and engineers, and it was permits, and it was wild. It was like every time we think that something is sorted, something happens, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna make it take longer, or we have to pay this amount of money. But we really had a strong desire that even though some things aren't always built in this area up to the exact code, or sometimes builders do things this way, we really wanted to build our homes with integrity and honor the laws of the land here. And that did cost us more money and more time and everything, but we can say that we love Mexico, and we love that this is where God's putting us, so we're going to honor everything. Everything that's happened since then, even all the things that felt like hiccups, ended up working out better. So again, it was just, even though this wasn't like a part of it that was necessarily a crazy financial provision thing, it was a provision of where God continued to work things out for good when we were being honoring and fighting for doing things right.
What about when we had those deadlines and there were stressful times? And just remembering that this whole process, we haven't been in control at all, and so why would we try and take control at any certain point? And just continue to lean in and trust that God is our provider, He is our leader.
Well, you can go play in the other room if you want.
Yeah.
He's
Say
like,
bye.
I'm out.
And can I play on the tablet?
Yeah, you go, buddy.
Extra time at bedtime.
Yep.
So happy.
I'm getting spoiled from all of this.
So yeah, I think just a reminder that life seems crazy and there's up and downs, and I'm sure we have to be responsible but more of all just lean into God and trust Him and trust the process that He's taking us in, because He is working not just for us but through us and with us.
Yeah, I remember the following October, it was still 2018, there was some deadline that was coming up where we had to pay this chunk of money, and we just had zero idea, and that deadline was coming, and it was, I think, one of those situations where it was like a lot of little amounts and things where it kind of trickled in. But here we are today looking back, and God totally covered that. Like, we were so stressed in the moment of like, oh my goodness, like, we don't want these other families who are doing this with us to be held up because we don't have the money yet, and God just took care of that the whole time. Another thing I wanted to share about was we, in the middle of all of this, got the opportunity to go to Israel with a bunch of our team, and some of our friends that were also building were there. And one of the most impactful days was when we ended up in the wilderness where Moses was with the Israelites. And we were looking in this canyon, and it was gorgeous and amazing, and there was all these like wet patches along the wall of this canyon. And the guide that was with us was sharing about how when Moses was told to speak to the rock, instead he hid it because that's the way that he'd done it before. The other thing that you know isn't necessarily well known is that there's these they're called like salt plugs, I forget, some sort of water plug that's in the canyon that's hiding in the rock, and that's why there's all these wet patches. And so when he went, and well, first of all he goes, must we do this again for you? And taking this glory of God into his own hands, like, I'm gonna make this happen for you. But then he hits the rock twice, and what they think is that it made the salt plug or whatever it's called come out, literally taking the miracle away from the Lord, where he said speak to the rock, where it would have been a full-on miracle. And in that time God was speaking to us quite clearly, and for weeks after, about not doing this time that we have, this miracle that we're waiting to see, in the same way that we always do it, the same way we always lean on, but to go to God for what is fresh and new from him, and where he's going to get the glory for this miracle. And so yeah, with that we were praying, and we didn't really know what that meant, because we are finite, and it is hard to sometimes come up with new ideas, like okay God, like, you need to download this if it's really you. And out of the blue I felt like God was saying, you know, to ask others, friends who love us and are you know, really support us, to be advocates for us. And so it's when we talked to a couple really awesome friends, you know who you are, about maybe hosting some events for us, where then we could invite more friends to hear our story. And so yeah, they went for that, and it was amazing. And
People showed up.
People actually showed up, and people we didn't even know, and that was amazing, and who actually cared enough to come and hear our story and
Ask questions.
And still have this thing of like, we don't know what we're doing, because we're still relying on God in this situation, like, for a long time. And so we still, I think that was probably the most impactful thing for us ultimately, was I mean, all of this has been very impactful, but that people, these friends, would care that much about us to lay themselves and their reputations on the line to invite people into their homes to hear our story. And so we just want to say thank you to you guys again, because you're awesome.
Yep. So I've been down here for 21 years, and this is so far the longest house build I've been on. Normally it takes 2 days. We're on about 2.5 years now. So, but we're super excited. Just a couple weeks ago, we finished our retaining wall and cement slab, and this last couple weeks started doing some of our first row of blocks. We're building our house with a material called ICF, which I'm obviously a fan of. Working in some of the developing world, we're seeing incredible opportunities for quality of life being changed, and through a generous donation from one of our partners, Lazarian World Home, we were able to get the blocks at cost. So a block that normally costs $18 a piece, we got for like $6, and so starting to put all of our exterior walls up, filling them with cement and rebar, and we got a lot of friends helping us put together our house. And so 6 families right now have about 4 to 6 feet worth of wall up, and we're going vertical. So it's super exciting just to see the energy and the families that have been walking in this process for years together, just celebrating. And
we heard that there's a tradition here that every time you pour a foundation that you're supposed to have carne asada. And so I've decided that, like, every time there's a block, we should probably have carne asada, and then if we have another layer of the block, we should probably have carne asada, because that is fabulous. But No, so yeah, that's where we're at. I'm gonna post the link of our website, and what's really cool about this is our very supportive boss man Sean Lambert encouraged us to do it this way, because when we're talking about building a house, it feels very large. But as things have as money's come in and there's been provision and all of these things, every little bit goes such a long way for us, and anything helps. And so what we've done is we've broken it down to our, like, well, right now we need the money for the roof, but as we get lower, it's like, this is what the toilet's gonna cost. This is what a window's gonna cost, and it includes labor and all of that. But where you could really see, like, if you wanted to give, but you have this much and you think that you need this much, well, we would appreciate this much, because that might buy us that toilet. That would be very wonderful. I'm gonna post that now, because that just got awkward. What was I gonna say about that? There's the full goal, and what is included in that is everything from the very, like, most necessary things like getting a roof on, down to what it's going to take us to actually be living in the home. So like a couch is on that. And obviously we don't need to get all of that to totally move in, but this is like the big picture. And so, I mean, we have a plan. You want to share about our plan of how we're going to move forward with the apartment?
Yep. So when we were starting this process and looking at the whole project, it's incredible, just the house we're moving into. It really is our dream home, and it's not, a 3,000 square foot mansion or anything like that. Is 3,000 square foot really a mansion? I don't know what size the mansion is, but it's a nice, humble house. It's very functional. That would be a good word for it, functional. And but as we're going forward, I mean, we're talking about finishing our basement, and then we're adding like a little mother-in-law suite in there, so that not just our moms, but some of our friends that like to come down here, there's a place for them to crash, because we want to be hospitable to all of our friends and guests and family. And so
that means you.
The idea is
you're welcome.
We're gonna finish that first and move in there, and as we continue our house, we'll slowly take over room by room, and get the house finished that way. So we're hoping maybe by this fall we could actually move into our mother-in-law suite on our house.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. If we had all of the money now, then we would wait and not do 2 moves and just do 1. But that's kind of our plan, to utilize and be good stewards of our own finances every month, that we're not paying rent and then, building a house at the same time. So that's our side thing. But yeah, as you look at the site, on the list of items, the top is the higher priority until you get into like the individual rooms, and then it's kind of it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think we'll need bathrooms, but other than that, we can mother-in-law suite or whatever. But we do need a roof then before we buy it tabled or something. So
also, if anyone wants, if they have questions, just message us. We'd love to talk to you, and
yeah.
We'll hear from you. I mean, we don't talk to everyone enough. That's one of the beautiful things, actually, about this last few months for us. We've been able to connect with a lot of people just from the business of life. It's forced us to slow down and connect, and actually, it's been a blessing for us moving forward on our house. Yeah. We wouldn't be where we're at today if we were traveling all over. And
yeah, the truth is, I mean, we weren't even going to hardly see each other in April because Cody had so many back-to-back trips, and then, I mean, not that we are pleased about COVID, but it did create an opportunity where we've been able to move forward on our house in a way that we weren't expecting. And so that really has been interesting to see a blessing come out of a really terrible situation. I think I just want to really share my heart in this with this video, is not to think, I hate the word deserving, because I don't feel like we're deserving. I feel like we are just people. We're just ordinary people that are trusting God for a miracle. And yeah, we live in another country, and the truth is we feel very privileged that we get to do something that we love, and otherwise we wouldn't have been here for 21 years. We literally have our dream job, and yeah, we're not by family, well, actually Cody's brother's here, but a lot of our family is not that close to us, but it is still, we're living the dream. And so we are ordinary, and we've screwed up, and we are finite, but God is truly faithful, and he is just been incredibly steadfast through this process. Even when with my emotions were all over the place, God was right there providing what we need and being faithful to what he said he's going to do. And I just want to encourage you guys I'm sure that there's dreams that you've had that maybe, like ours of owning a home here was over 10 years old, but God's moving on that now. And, or there's situations where it just feels like, Pastor Jim was talking about, is God really enough? And out of all of this story, I hope that you would see that God truly is enough and big enough to meet you in every situation. And, we are ordinary people, and not to, take you down a notch, but you are too, but God is so good, and he will meet you in your situation, and you don't have to be a missionary for that to happen. He loves you and wants to connect with you in whatever it is that you're going through. Yep.
Yeah, I think for the most part that's pretty good. Should we give a shout out for Evening of Hope next week as well?
Oh yeah.
Something that everyone has to take advantage of.
Yeah, so obviously we're doing our fundraiser, but something that is going to be wonderful for you guys and really bless you is we have an Evening of Hope. We keep sharing it on Facebook. It is a free event. It is also a fundraiser, but there's no obligation to give. It's going to be amazing. Michael W. Smith, Bob Goff, Patrick Lencioni, there's these people that are sharing. This guy, who is it again?
The governor of Tennessee.
I named the ones that I knew. But it's...
And Sean Lambert, of course.
And Sean Lambert and his daughter Andrea. And it's literally going to be full of awesome stories of what God's done in the middle of this crazy crisis time. And so you do not want to miss it. It's going to be so good. Go sign up. It's free. It is happening the 25th, the next Thursday.
All right. We love you guys. Thanks for hopping on, watching us. If you have any thoughts or questions, call us, email us. We'd love to talk to you.
I can post Cody's phone number on that, and he would love to. Yeah. We've got some time. Here we are.
Telemarketers call me all the time. I'd rather talk to you. Blessings.
Yes, blessings. Oh, I have to hang up. Cody's not as tech savvy with this. Finish. All right.